Okay, we're going to call to order the January 28th, 2020 meeting of the Board of Managers for the LaPorte County Convention and Visitors Bureau, and we'll begin with the roll call.
Tim Anderson.
Here.
Kitty Kate.
Here.
Pat Harris.
Here.
Devin Hastings.
Here.
Martha King. Adam Konechny.
Here.
Sue Mullenhour.
Here.
Mike Seitz.
Here.
Doug Waters.
Here.
We have a panel present.
Thank you for that. We'll open the meeting at this time to any public comments. Are there any public comments? Okay, moving right along. We're beginning a new year. We always do our election of officers at this point. And so we do have our nomination committee chair that has presented a slate to you all. And I'll turn it over to Mr. Seitz.
Okay, we do have a slate that was recommended by the nomination committee, composed of myself, Kitty, and Sue. The slate, as recommended, is Pat Harris for president, Doug Walters as vice president, Mike Seitz as treasurer, and Martha King as secretary. Are there any other nominations for the...
The floor is now open for nominations from the floor. Here.
Move the nominations be closed.
Thank you. We have a motion by Mr. Waters to close the nominations and a second by Sue Mullenhour. I'll call for the vote at this time if there's no other discussion. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I move that we accept the slate as read of Mike Seitz and vote on the candidates.
Individually?
No, close nomination.
Oh, we already did the vote.
No, you just closed it.
Oh, the nominations, you're right, I'm sorry. You're right, I did.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a motion now to accept the slate as presented for approval to the board by Mr. Waters. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Sue Mullenhour. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Okay, so we're here to serve. Again this year, we'll continue to put our efforts forward. I think the officers and the other board members have been dedicated to this board and to our purpose. I think we're doing an excellent job in the county, and we'll continue to do that. At this point, I'll ask for a motion to approve our November, we did not have a meeting in December, so our November 2019 minutes.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion by Mr. Seitz and a second by Mrs. Kitty Kate. Any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. For the officers' report, I'll begin this morning with my president's report. I just want to give you guys again an update on the Fairgrounds Management and Events Corporation. We refer to it affectionately as FMEC. We had a meeting in January, actually, a couple weeks ago, and we do have now an official agreement with the LaPorte County Fair Board. And we've come to an understanding of the time period that the fair is going to be conducted and the time period around that. It'll be dedicated totally to the fair board. The fairgrounds is totally theirs for the 5-week period in July. That's the 2 weeks before the fair, the week of the fair, and then 2 weeks after the fair. There will be no other activities at the fairgrounds on in those 5 weeks, so that they can conduct what they need to do before the fair and then finish up and wrap up after the fair, and of course then host the fair during the week. So we're committed to that with them, and also we've identified some buildings that they have specific activities going on that's going to be their buildings for the whole year. And the FMEC can use them if we request it, and they're not using it, but that's going to be theirs because they do a lot of activities in those buildings. So that's the main thrust of it, and there's some other details and so forth in the agreement, but that's basically what we've done. now that we have the official agreement, now we're going to move forward with the hiring of the business and event manager for the property. So we'll be posting that position probably this week or next week to get that moving forward. That's my report.
Pat,
Yes.
how are you gonna make that position known in the community? You're gonna,
We're gonna post it on all of the professional sites. So we're gonna advertise,
okay,
because you don't want to leave something out that may be golden out there for you.
Sure.
So we're gonna publish it on all like the Indeeds and so forth like that. But we're gonna cover all of the local sites, such as the LaPorte County site. They have a site out there for open positions, even though it's not a county position, but we come under the county's kind of guidelines. So we're going to post it in that. We're going to use the local newspapers for it also. There's some social media avenues we're going to also take for that.
you know, there's such a, I think maybe there's such a similarity in a lot of cases between the Convention and Visitors Bureau, having events coordinators and doing that type of thing. Is there some way to let the CVBs across
Is there?
the area?
Yeah, there's an avenue.
Okay, we'll include that then.
Yeah, sure. Good thought, Mike. We'll do that.
Let them know that this position is open?
Yes, absolutely, I do, and I do agree. You think I would have thought of that, right?
Well, that's why you
Yeah.
helped me.
Yeah, that's why you're here. That's why you're the treasurer.
Oh, boy.
Okay. Speaking of treasurer.
Oh, do I have to give a report?
Yeah, and I'll see if I can help you out too.
Okay, folks, you should have received two treasurer's reports in your packet for the month of November and December. And we'll take each one month at a time. So for November, you have a total accounts payable of $64,184.64. And with a total payroll of $57,578.49 for a grand total of $121,764.13. And you see also included in the packet is all the information provided. I will pass this around for your signature and approval. So with that, and then, let's see, where are the claims?
Amy, you got the copy of the claim, and find them for Mike, please.
Did I miss them?
They're probably on the back of that, maybe.
Should be here.
Right.
This is just some, oh, you passed it all around.
Yeah, it's probably on the
Is
back
this
of that.
it? Yeah, so it should be in there.
Is
Everything should be in
it?
there.
I'm sorry.
It's a new year.
Yeah. We didn't have a meeting in December, so we're kind of.
Well, Gail's in Mexico too, that's the other part of that.
Okay. Where are the claims?
Notes. That's always scary.
This is a picture.
Somebody created a version. Is that
We have, the claims weren't included in this.
Okay, let's,
Do you want to defer it to
did it go out in the board packet? Did the claims go out in the board packet?
Claims never do.
I don't think so
Claims never do.
either.
Yeah, claims never do.
Okay.
Claims never go on.
They never go
Yeah, well,
out.
Gail out of town.
All right.
I apologize.
I'll continue to pass around and then,
Do you have December's? I know you just went through November.
yeah, I'm going to December here.
Okay.
Okay, December's, the accounts payable for that month is $64,961.77, and total payroll was $39,607.39, which is a grand total of $94,569.16. So that's the accounts payable and the payroll for that month, and I will ask you to sign that when we pass those around. So that's the approval, and we need a motion for the approval of the financial statements for those November and December.
Motion to approve financial records as written, as stated.
Okay, we need to do those individually. So we'll do November 1st.
Okay.
So I'll ask for a motion for November.
Motion to approve financials.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Waters and a second by Kincaid. Any discussion on November's financials? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Motion to approve December's financials.
Thank you.
Second.
Second by Adam. I'm sorry. Motion by Mr. Waters, second by Mr. Knizney. Okay. Any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. It's a new year, okay? Okay, everybody breathe. We're gonna get through. Yeah, Mr.
I'll send out anything that was missing. Yeah, that's okay.
Wow, okay. Moving right along, we're at our committee report section now. Okay, Mr. Sykes, do you have anything for legislative this month?
Not at this time. I will refer to Jack if he has something.
We'll cover that
Okay.
later on, sure.
Okay.
And the only announcement I have for branding is that the branding committee is now taking some time off, and the We Create media that the city had hired to do the marketing is not going to be utilized for 2020, and we should be getting notification in a couple months on how they're going to handle the branding leadership team.
Okay, good. Okay, we have Miss Angie here today. Do we have any update on blue chip activity for 2020? Plans and another hotel gonna be built?
2019 was very good for Blue Chip, certainly from time to change. We celebrated our 20-year anniversary of the Empire Board Gaming. We celebrated 10-year anniversary of opening the Stardust Event Center. And then obviously in October, we christened the new expansion of the Fremont Ballroom. So in between that, we also opened up the sportsbook, which is doing very well. So hopefully 2020 is just gonna stabilize a little bit with all these grand openings, all this, and it's been awesome, but a great influx. So we just need to kind of stabilize some things. Currently today, I have our sister property, Belterra sales team is up, and so I'm just going to have to scoot late in a bit, but we are talking about sales strategies and so forth. And so again, I can't stress it enough because again, I talk about the partnership that we have with our community, LaPorte CVB, and they are trying to reach out to their CVBs as well. It truly, is with today's meeting professional, there's all kinds of destinations and conventions that are popping up all over, certainly in LaPorte County and Northwest Indiana rather, it's no different. We know that South Bend is going to be starting to get the shovel in the ground for the hotel soon. We have, whatever is going to come up over on 65 is going to be something, you don't know when, but what that is, or our investors looking at that. And obviously everything with the casino element going up along Gary and into Chicago, and what they're going to be doing. So we have a perfect ideal window, but that window is closing as far as what that means. So trying to bring in local, state, regional, national conventions and events is definitely a challenge. So again, some of the things I'm kind of working with our sister property, Belterra Resort, is located in southern Indiana. They're close to Cincinnati. They're close to a lot of Kentucky, and they have a lot more things to offer. But in the same token, it's nice to kind of see that we're just fine, and we're have a lot more, again, with our partnership, we have a lot more resources than what they've been able to kind of build on. So we are lined up for 2020 for conventions for sure. We're bringing Napa Auto Parts back this next month. Indiana Dance Challenge is a large state dance competition. Cover Schools user group is in March. They were not going to return if we did not expand. They definitely have outgrown us. And so the list goes on and on and on. So again, the only reason why that they're coming here is because of the partnership we have. It's kind of like buying business these days. They need some help with their membership and their association to try to get people to travel to their conferences. And the reason why we're able to do that, if we can host something or kind of offer something, again, something like what you talk about with the Big League Grand Prix, what gets people to travel, what gets people to come away from their families and such. So 2020 is expected to be one of the strongest years that we've had on record. It definitely is something that from a sales, now having a Fremont Ballroom open, that corporate's flying into Vegas, from Vegas to tomorrow, and I'm going to have to definitely be on the hot seat this next year as far as how we're going to pay for that new building. But rest assured, again, the business is lining up. People are intrigued, and again, when you have something new and shining, it gives a little more niche and why people want to come and visit. So, but yeah, certainly from a number standpoint, the expectation of what that Fremont Ballroom would be looking to do is, I'm expected to grow my sales from $2 to $3 million this year, so we'll see if I do that. But it's pretty aggressive. So looking at staffing, looking at operations, it's just one of those things where for those parents, if you go from 2 children to 3 children, you may need a bigger car, you may need a bigger house. So those are the things that kind of work out. But again, really appreciate the value of this partnership that we have, and certainly as we kind of getting people to come to see all that Northwest Indiana has to offer. It's not just
Well, knowing you and your diligence, you'll get it done.
What's happening on I-65?
I'm sorry?
Did you say something about I-65? Is there something happening down there?
Well, that's when the White Lodging was going to have their big, their big complex that they were going to have. They're going to have 2 or 3 limited service hotels, boutique hotels. We're going to put a arboretum or greenhouse or something over there, and then they pulled it. So obviously it's open for taking. I don't think that land will sit empty. So we're watching it very closely as to what's open.
Right, because you're another casino.
South Bend is definitely coming across very aggressive, adding a hotel product. And that's really what is it's nice to have Holiday Inn doing our mix. It's certainly it's not that we're opposed. We need more hotel rooms. I built more meeting space. I didn't add more rooms, so folks would like to have something to go and see. So same thing with the casino. It's definitely coming. As far as what they're going to do with that space and who they're going to cater to or kind of solicit for is going to be
a lot of competition.
This time I'd like to take an opportunity to introduce our newest board member to the community and this board, Ms. Devin Hastings. She's with the South Bend Cubs and has been there for 11 years. This will be her 8th season with the Cubs and her 11th overall in baseball, Before coming to South Bend, she worked with the Indianapolis Indians, Gwyneth Braves, and Montgomery Biscuits. Hastings hails from LaPorte, Indiana. We're very proud of that. She graduated from Ball State University with a bachelor's degree in history and from Valparaiso University with a master's degree in sports administration. Looks like you got some help. In her spare time, she enjoys spending time with her family, friends, going to sporting events, and concerts, and golfing. We're delighted to have you, and as I told you, we're looking forward to you having a lot of input into this board and this operation. So Welcome
Welcome.
aboard.
Welcome.
Everyone, make sure you take an opportunity to introduce yourselves later to Devin, and welcome aboard again. Okay, moving right along. Do we have any unfinished business?
Couple of them.
Approval of the new job description.
Yeah, I'm glad to take that, Pat. As you'll recall, we started the process last fall during the budgetary process of reclassifying Chelsea Miller from hourly to salary. A couple parts to that process. One of those you took care of in the budget. We put the money in there to affect that change going into 20. So that's all been done. The money part of it's been done. The second part, or there's three parts actually. The second part to this process is approving of a job description. And one of the things we were trying to accomplish when we had the discussions around moving Chelsea into salary was, one, rewarding her for doing a good job. She's been a great employee, done an outstanding job, and it was certainly time to recognize that. But also, we realized that Amy could use some help in the social media area, and Chelsea had demonstrated some skills in that area that we had recognized. So what we did was we took Amy's job description, Chelsea's old job description, and blended those together along with the social media side of that we moved from Amy's, and we came up with the job description that I presented to all of you via email in the packet that you have. We've got extra copies of the job description with us if you need to see them again today, but that has been out. So I think you guys probably know the history there, what we were trying to accomplish. If there's any questions, I'll be glad to go over that. So Pat, I guess if there's no, it's up to you to maybe move forward on the approval of the job description.
I'll make a motion that we accept the proposed job description submitted by Jack Arnett.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Seitz and a second by Mr. Waters to approve the new job description for the CDB. Any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, you're on deck again. Salary range.
Thank you. And Chelsea, we're looking forward. Chelsea's here, by the way, helping Amy. Again, Dale's on vacation, so we got them both here kind of giving us some backup today. But Chelsea will be glad to answer any questions you have. And thanks again for the board for recognizing that.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Another part of making a reclassification is getting them in the right salary range. And as you saw in the notice I sent out to you all, as we were looking at the salary range adjustments, we realized that the wage and hour division had in fact made that change that we dealt with a year or so, a couple years ago, with regards to how salary folks are paid. There's now in effect a minimum salary range, and it's a wage and hour division document number 29 CFR part 541. And basically what we realized was that our whole salary range document needed to be adjusted because we were looking at Chelsea's and we said, oh wow, the minimum's not correct. So I sat down with staff and we talked about this and we said, now's a good time. We have to, by law, make the adjustment on the salary range document. So why don't we go ahead and broaden it out to make sure we don't have to have this discussion again. And understand, the approval of the salary range document doesn't affect anybody's salary by adopting that at all. That's all affected and in place already. This is just a range that we're allowed to use as we move forward with their salaries, that anybody would get an increase would have to stay within those ranges. So this doesn't affect anybody's salary today, except of course Chelsea's, so which you already did. So I sent that out. We do need to clean that up so we're legal. So we spread out all of them, and there should have been a copy in there of the old and the new. We should have got that, so you know what we went from, what we went to. So again, Pat, if you wouldn't mind opening that up, I'd be glad to answer any questions under discussion if you've got any.
Right. I'll entertain a motion to approve the new salary range for the salary ranges for our staff.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion, second? Second. A motion by Sue Molinaro, a second by Kitty Kate. Any discussion at this point? I'll call for the motion or the vote. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Yeah, well, we have a guest here today that Jack has asked to come and give us an update. I'll let Jack take care of that.
Yeah, thanks, Pat. I just wanted to, I give a brief update every month on NITDC business. It's usually brief because we've got a lot of other things on the table, but as you know, NITDC, our regional group, is near and dear to our heart in LaPorte County. I've been fortunate enough to serve with my counterparts in the capacity of president of that board for several years. It's something that we're really dedicated to in LaPorte County, and it drives a lot of our day-to-day business, the business around NITDC. In particular, we've recently started this new initiative that many of you have heard a little bit about. And I thought it was good to hear from our director, Dan Barish, on where this is at. And Dan hadn't met all of you, so we thought it was a good time for Dan to come in and say hi and give a brief update on the new initiative. So with that, Dan, would you roll that out for us?
Yeah, thanks. And yeah, I was able to be here 3 or 4 months ago and met a lot of you, and there's some new board members, so welcome aboard to you. And so I'll give you just quickly, North Indiana Tourism Development Commission has been around since 1991. We were originally developed as a 9-county organization spanning the 7 counties along the Indiana Toll Road, and then Marshall and Kosciuszko County were later added. And we formed at the request of NDOT because they were running the toll road at the time, and they were running the gas operations, fuel operations, and as well as the road and the travel servicing along the toll road. And they decided they just needed to focus on the road, and went to find restaurant operators to take over the restaurants, and fuel operators to take over the gas stations and fuel operations along the toll road. And approached one of our Commission Visit Bureau members to take over the travel servicing on the toll road. It was a great idea, but we wanted all of the counties along the toll road to manage it. So in order to do that, they formed a regional organization. It was one of the first regional organizations formed in northern Indiana, maybe in the state. It was a rarity back in 1991 to work regionally like that. So we formed and started working together and building up the programming at the travel service plazas along the toll road to reach a transient audience of 65 million people or thereabouts driving that road every year. And without our programming in those travel plazas, they could blow right through Indiana, because our final destination in many cases not Indiana, and not realize that the Indiana Dunes is in Indiana. They didn't realize the University of Notre Dame was in Indiana. They didn't realize the second largest population of the Amish community and all the great things the Amish were in Indiana. They only got to see what they saw on billboards and driving along in the beautiful trees along the toll road. So we really got it together and affected that, and it drove major economic impact from that transient audience. It's a very unique audience, and have encouraged them to come in and get off the toll road and come into our communities either on this trip, maybe a return trip if they're going out to New York and then when they come back, or on future trips because they travel throughout the Midwest. It's a huge target audience that we've been able to impact. Over the years, we expanded our mission to include branding and marketing. We've launched a brand a year and a half, 2 years ago called Indiana's Cool North, and we promote through our marketing efforts. If you want to check our website, indianascoolnorth.com, and see how we promote the connected experiences across this greater North Indiana region. And it's quite a story to tell. I mean, where else in the Midwest can you go and have all of the wonderful experiences that we have to offer? Again, you can, within an hour of each other, you can go to Indiana Dunes, which is now a national park, go to Notre Dame, go to Amish country, visit all of our wonderful communities and restaurants and all that. There's very few destinations in the Midwest that can match ours, so I'm very proud of the way we've been able to connect those experiences in the consumer's mind and let them know that those are available. The other area that we have core competency in as an organization is in the area of government affairs and advocacy. And for the last 10 years, our group has engaged with a lobbyist firm and has gone down to Indianapolis and communicated with our legislators to try to affect legislation or defend against legislation that worked against our industry. So we've learned how to go down there and how to engage our legislators, how to engage lobbyists to work on our behalf. And we've gotten pretty good at that in the last 10 years, and it's really served our region well. Times are changing and disruption is everywhere. I'm sure as all you guys look at your business and you look at your organizations you're involved with or sit on boards with, things are changing, and you better be able to change with those times or you're not going to be relevant anymore. Our organization is no different than that, and we noticed that there's a rapid change in our industry where we're not just able to talk about tourism and tourism marketing on its own. We have to take and engage and hold hands with our unbelievable chambers, our economic development folks, our mayors, and we're all working, and the language now is quality of place, quality of life. And it's really exciting because we realize that impacts residents, it impacts visitors, it impacts visitor and talent attraction. When you have a wonderful place to live, you have a wonderful place to visit, you have a wonderful place for people to want to come and work and business to relocate. And so all of our organizations are going through this change of how do we do this in a modern way and in a collaborative way. And so we've started convening and saying, look, how do we refresh and reboot NITDC in this new world and play a role that complements all the great work of the other organizations that exist out there. Again, there are chambers, our LEDOs, our convention visitors bureaus, our private sector businesses, etc. And we discovered that, and we formed a new board, an advisory board that was made up of private sector partners from around the region, many of them that were not directly involved in the tourism, some were, and from across the 9-county region. And we started saying, look, what do we need to do to be in lockstep and to add value to these other great initiatives that go on around the region? And where we landed, because one of our core competencies that we have is government affairs and advocacy, we recognized that there was nobody that was unifying and the voice of the region and going downstate and organizing our legislators to say, we want our fair share of resources for Northern Indiana. We want our fair share of board appointments and commission appointments, and we want to advocate for local control on issues that we feel like we should be able to make locally, and it shouldn't be mandated from downstate. And so we decided to say, this is our lane, this is the way we're going to move forward, and we have formed under a new board and launched a new initiative we're calling Our Fair Share, our Northern Indiana Fair Share, and it's again our fair share of resources that could come back in the way of infrastructure, road funding, numerous different areas, our fair share of board appointments and commission appointments, and then our fair share of local control. Those are the three pillars that we're working within. Launching a new initiative like this is, people probably thought we were crazy. I know some people thought we were crazy to even try it. But you know what? We had enough people that believed in it. We had, again, a wide consensus of an unbelievable board of directors and advisory board. And we worked with Northeast Indiana has done an initiative similar to this 7 years ago, 8 years ago. And they have been very successful about bringing additional funding back for projects that they choose back into their region. And they now have organized their legislators so they are down there as a block and and they work and they meet regularly, and then they develop policies they think are important to the region, and they go and work to get those policies implemented or fight against policies they think are detrimental to their region, and they've been very effective. So I'm happy to sit here and report to you today that we have put the structure around this initiative. We have gone out and socialized it. We still have more work to do in that area. And we have started to sign on funding members to this initiative. We are organizing ourselves with our legislators. 2 weeks ago, I had our first breakfast that we hosted. Tom Dermody is on our board. He was very instrumental in convening legislators for our breakfast 2 weeks ago. And Tom and I went down there along with our lobbyist government affairs consulting team, Catalyst Public Affairs Group. And we had a great discussion. There was almost 10 legislators there from our region, and they were very, liked what we were doing, encouraged us to keep moving forward. Jack and I are going down there, and we'll have another breakfast tomorrow morning, and we're going to have 2 additional breakfasts to engage our legislators and bring them on board. So I just wanted to come here and let you guys know that this is happening. It's exciting. I think in all the meetings, I've probably sat down and met with our team with 40 or 50 different entities across the region to socialize, have this conversation. And I would say the feedback I've gotten from them is consistent on these 3 fronts. One is that there is a belief that we are not getting our fair share. And 2, there's a universal belief that there is nothing in place in the way of a plan, in the way of an initiative that would ever cause that to change. There's nobody filling with a plan to make that change. So we shouldn't expect that to change unless we do something different. And the third thing is, what we're proposing with this Northern Indiana Fair Share does appear to have to finally address this issue to where instead of complaining about it, we can actually do something about it. And this is a bipartisan effort. It's going to be set up through a policy committee that will cross the region from our best leaders from the private sector and the public sector that'll sit down and determine things that we think will be important to the region and that will make sense. And we'll do things that can only be done by a coalition of bringing legislators and a voting bloc together. We are so focused on not diminishing the efforts of any other entity and what they're trying to do in this same arena otherwise. So we have part of our core value statement is we will not do anything intentionally that diminishes the efforts of our regional, sub-regional groups like the development authorities, like the Northwest Indiana Forum, for example, or our chambers. And we've met with them and explained that to them, and they, after talking to us, the ones we've talked to have understood that and actually signed on to our initiatives. So I'm very proud of the way our board has worked to pull this together, the thoughtfulness that's gone into it, and I think we really have a winning program here, and we're going to continue to roll it out and move forward. We've got a lot of work to do, but it's definitely been widely accepted, and we're moving quickly to put it into full effect in the coming months. So with that, I'll open it up for any questions anybody might have.
I think it's a great concept, and my question is one of the things that I've noticed over my years of being around is that I've always felt that, like, for example, compared to Michigan and the state initiatives that Pure Michigan, and some of the money that they've put into tourism and stuff, I've always felt that the state of Indiana has never really stepped up to the plate and really backed tourism like they should. Is one of in order to get our fair share, like from Indianapolis and from the state, we need to get the state legislature to be able to put in money into the state coffers to disperse to local tourism. Is there going to be an emphasis on lobbying the state legislature to step up to the plate and to put more money into the state tourism?
First of all, I don't want to predispose anything that we might do in those areas. We will form a policy committee. The policy committee, not myself or Jack, will make decisions like that. But that's exactly the type of initiative that we'll probably have a discussion around for promotion. We certainly want to develop the brand of Northern Indiana. We want to get the word out about Northern Indiana as a great place to live, work, and play. And to do that, there needs to be funding. That could be an area of an agreement that we would land on. And then if we did, and we have our legislators that agree to go and down there and stay committed, and we have 30 to 40 legislators that are down there saying, this is what we want, our odds of getting that done go from 0 to something,
Sure.
And right now, we're just not organized. And you need the clout of these collective votes to get this stuff done. And that's what that's why you can't be a one county or two county, three county. You can get a lot done, and they should continue to do that. But when you have 9 counties and that number of legislators, and you have our business leaders saying, this is what we want, our odds of getting stuff done go from 0 to some significant number, and that's what we're trying to get done.
Sure.
So that's a good example, Mike. Thanks for bringing that up.
You mentioned in here that Northern Indiana has a world-class climate for businesses, chambers, tourism bureaus, and local economic development organizations. Are those the entities you're going to tap into to be part of the organization, or do you know exactly what entities you're going to be looking at?
Yeah, we're going to certainly work with the private sector businesses and bring them on board. We have met with, I probably met with 8 or 10, no, probably more than that, probably 10, 11 chambers and talked to them. We've worked with, met with several economic development organizations. So we want to bring them into this, and they have shown a desire to want to be a part of it. So I think in a perfect world, and we have commitments right now from economic development organization to be a member, and several chambers that have signed on in support of this, and then private sector businesses have come along. So it's all of the above.
Well, the reason I was asking if you're going to limit it to that, or you're going to extend it, but potentially as you start to develop it and you find maybe like educational institutions.
Yes, very much so.
Or maybe like United Ways, or
Yeah, we haven't thought about the United Ways, I wouldn't say, but educational for sure. I forgot to mention that. It's probably an omission even in that document. But yeah, we see our university, like Notre Dame, Valparaiso University, when we've had conversations with both those entities, quite frankly. So see, they definitely, for them to come on board is front and center. So that is a good catch on your part.
Well, I was just curious.
Yeah.
This is a very valuable resource we have sitting here with us today. Please ask questions if you have anything running through your mind about what they're proposing to do, because it's going to be a major boost in getting some things north of the center line of the state that we haven't had in the past. So,
Dan, will this organization map to the exact same geography as the Cool North tourism effort, or is there an opportunity that this might become a superset of that?
It's a great question. Right now we see it kind of aligning, but we would say, like, if we go from one initiative to the next, it doesn't have to be the exact same county matchup. We're not going to restrict ourselves to saying everything we do as an organization has to touch those 9 counties. If there's some reason why it doesn't make sense for the 9 counties, or a chance for a 10th or 11th or 12th, we're going to be flexible with that. So we just start with the 9 because it's our history, and there's relationships that are built across those 9 counties already. We're just leveraging those at this time.
Makes sense.
Dan, just kind of follow up with what Mike had started. I was part of that campaign for Pure Michigan. It did take organizations, special interest groups such as this, to get that momentum going. It was not an overnight project by any means. It was something when the recession hit and Detroit fell with the Motor City, and there was all that embarrassment of them flying to DC and all that. And then you obviously know from the sports world, Michigan is already split between West Michigan and East Michigan, obviously. Traverse City was never on the map. Northern Michigan was never on the map as far as doing the UP. And then you bring in some of those collaborative efforts from celebrities to hometown goodness and all that stuff. But it took these type of organizations to be the voice to promote Muskegon, to promote Grand Rapids, to promote Traverse City, that finally got them on the map to do that. So this definitely is a great first step to kind of get that legislative voice, because Indy currently is reaping that benefit, obviously, because again, talking sports world, I mean, how many NCAA brackets do they host and doing all that? So we know that it's a great tourism as far as bringing in a sports connection, but what else is in Indiana? And Fort Wayne, and again, having Belterra that's located in southern Indiana, and a property French Lick and those properties down there. So if we can represent the north, and then we can collaborate with the southwest and east, that's pretty special, and it will definitely help make this, because it truly is, every other state is doing this too. This is not rocket science. We need to get on board.
Thank you, that's well put, and it is. And you know what, why would we expect to get our fair share if we're not at the table? If we can't go down to Indianapolis and define what we want, I mean, that's our fault, it's not Indianapolis' fault. So we need to get our act together, and I think Indianapolis would be happy to in many cases, give us what we want. We just have to define it for them and let them know that we're watching a little bit, so.
Well, that was Michigan. I mean, Detroit wasn't their voice. That's what got them all up in arms. We're not Detroit, we're very different. And although you're in the same state, you still reach some of the thing, but don't give us that perception. And again, Indy is a great, city. It's not Detroit by any means, but Flint and all that stuff has had to get on. So you had to separate yourself to become one.
Yeah.
And to strengthen the point, the state legislature really, really listens to groups like this.
I think so.
I mean, because, we used to meet a coalition of statewide chambers in conjunction with the Indiana State Chamber. And when they would go and lobby the legislators or go testify at some of the hearings on different bills that affected business, those legislatures really listened to those groups. And again, the leadership with you two guys here and to formulate that, that's how you get their ear.
It seems to be, that's the feedback we've been getting, so yeah, I think you're right.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you for your time, and good seeing everybody.
We look forward to hearing some exciting news in the very near future.
Okay, hopefully, it's just fast moving, so I'm sure I could come back once a month and tell you some new stuff.
Yeah, right. Okay, great. And with that, we're going to move right along into our agenda with our, let's see, miscellaneous business. Mr. Arnett with his Executive Director's report.
Yeah, just to circle back on a couple points that were brought up, more specifically the Michigan thing, just to give you a perspective on that. Depending on who you ask, they spent either between 30 or 40 million on that Pure Michigan campaign, okay? Let's just say 30 on the low end. The tourism budget for the state of Indiana is the same size as the budget that you guys approve, 1.5 million. Okay, so our whole state tourism budget is 1.5 million.
Yes.
They spent 30 million just on that campaign in the state of Michigan. So we got to get this in perspective. And that's a good way to look at that. I mean, the one you vote on every year is the same size as the state budget, or at least it was at one point. It's moved up and down. It's been close, but that's an interesting perspective. Vibrant community is going great. Adam, I know you've been volunteering a little bit. Would you want to say a few words about VC or any impression you're getting?
Yeah, I think it's just I think it's a really good initiative what they're doing, and it's there's just a lot right now. They're at the stage where there's so many ideas, but I think it seems to be moving along. Each time I meet, it seems like it's progressing, kind of narrowing down some of the main concepts and viewpoints that everybody agrees on. But I think overall it's good for the community. It seems like it's going to take us to a new level, hopefully, and kind of get more accomplished, I think is what it is, more communication. I think, which is.
Thank you for your volunteer and your leadership. That's awesome. Yeah, it's a great initiative. We're just happy to be, part of that. I want to, Pat, you started the meeting out by giving the report on the fairgrounds, but just want to congratulate you on carrying the torch there. You've done a great job with that, and that's not been an easy task. But we've made leaps and bounds. In a year or two from now, we're going to look back at this and say, wow, what we've been able to do with that facility. So
I hope so.
It's glad that we're in a leadership role on that. That's really important. And then Angie's report, just obviously, we are 200% committed to Angie meeting her sales goals. We're going to be right there with her and help that happen. And Rick and everybody else on our staff that's involved in that is going to make sure that those goals are met. And we're all in on that. They made a huge commitment to LaPorte County and to Michigan City initially, and then they've doubled down on that with the addition of this center. So we're on board with meeting those goals, Angie. And thank you for your staff and everybody. That's great. Some good stuff to roll out, guys. We can now look at the numbers for 2019 with regards to our innkeeper's tax and our gaming tax. You guys got the graph form, please? We prepared a couple graphs. One of them will be your gaming tax total for 2019, and one will be the innkeeper's tax. And we've charted them out by month. The bottom line is, as you're looking at those documents, in the innkeeper's tax, we were up over last year by over 17. And in the gaming tax, we were up over 16. Which, think about this with regards to the innkeeper's tax. We look at the chart. Last year, look at this year, we continue to improve for like 3 or 4 years in a row on the gaming. We did that with less hotel rooms. We had 2 major hotels that had been down pretty much this whole year. There was no way we could have projected to still have an increase in innkeeper tax for 2019 with 2 of our second and third biggest hotels in the county shut down for most of the year. So what we did is we were able to move that needle and get the onboard strength at the other hotels up to absorb those rooms. So that's a credit to the CVB and to the staff here to be able to, we would have been lucky to hang on, let alone to increase it. So, that's a real positive, and for us to be up over 33,000 total revenue for the year is amazing. We don't have a lot of control on the gaming side other than just promoting gaming and working with our partners at Blue Chip, and that's reflective of this new formula too, which we're still getting our hands around. I just would like to caution everybody, I'm not real comfortable that the gaming dollars will stay at that level. I got a feeling this new formula, regardless of how good we do in gaming, which we're doing great, our numbers are up with the addition of the sports booking. They're up significantly, but this new formula is not going to be overly friendly to us with our take moving forward. As we increase the years, the way the legislator did, they kicked the bad can down the road where it gets worse every year for a while. But we do have some hold harmless language in there that might save us a little bit of a safety net. So it's all good. And we're just real happy to report that at the end of the year to you guys. It's a great credit to the staff. So, any questions on that?
Yeah, Jack.
Said Jack looked at Angie.
Yeah. Not knowing much on how it works, I'm not really a betting man. Has the enabling in the state of Indiana to bet on sports, has that made any impact on, and you can bet on sporting games at your place, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, has that made an impact in any way, positive or negative, on anything as far as legit goes?
On our overall gaming revenue, or just?
Yeah, well, whatever.
As far as what-
Has it had any impact at all?
Yeah, our sports book, when it first opened in September, it was just Labor Day weekend. I would say that that first month, leading into like October, we beat Vegas. We beat our Vegas properties as far as the amount of revenue
Really?
that was doing. So definitely found out a little bit about our Northwest Indiana gaming folks that they were looking forward to. Indiana
Really?
passing that.
The only time I've used it every time the bet against Kentucky basketball.
That's why you're broke all the time.
Yeah.
Are we moving on? Is that your-
let's keep it going here.
FanDuel has definitely helped. Other casinos do not have that partnership, so that has enabled us to get out, well, statewide, and obviously, again, I keep talking about Belterra, but Belterra, again, having a sister property in the same state is unique for us now. So they too have that partnership with FanDuel. We do have a Paradise property in Illinois. So obviously, you can see these states are kind of jumping on board and seeing how the success of sports betting is, or at least trying to have some control. Same thing what they're doing with medical marijuana and all that stuff too. So, but certainly for us, it definitely has made a positive impact as far as getting revenue.
Well, thank you.
Okay, so moving on, and then in closing out the innkeeper's tax increase, just remind you all too that in July 1 of this year, the reporting changed where the third-party folks that collect innkeeper's tax now go to the state. And remember, there's been a big lag. We've talked about that several times. We still don't have all of our dollars for 19. So the numbers that I gave you, they're coming. And as we've talked about several times, we can't define exactly which months those are for yet because the law didn't give us permission until we got some letters of cooperation signed with a couple folks, so stuff wouldn't be divulged. So Amy, I'd say we're probably within a month away of being able to see exactly what's missing. But there's a few $1,000s still not in yet, is my point. So I sent you all a copy of the agreement with the Park Department. It's a standard agreement that is used for anybody who uses Washington Park. Nelson also serves in the capacity of the Park Board Attorney. Nelson probably drafted this document initially. It is within the purview of the director to go ahead and move forward with. The money's in the budget, but I just felt like I'd like to get it, if it's okay,
Sure.
a nod from the board saying if the Park Department board votes February 5th when we present this in favor of it, that I'll go ahead and sign it. So, Louisa, what's your pleasure? Do you want to discuss it and vote on it, or do you just want to give me
We'll
authority?
just give you authority. We don't need to really vote on it. It's already within your preview to do that, so.
Right, it's under the $5,000, so the board doesn't
Right.
have to vote on it.
Okay.
And just to clarify, I did not draft this, but this is something that the park does all the time. It's a major licensing agreement that they regularly approve, so I review a lot of these, and it's the same language for all of them. So there's nothing different in that agreement, and I would recommend that the board allow Jack to move forward with that, as we always have done.
Yeah.
And we don't need to vote, so.
Okay, good. I didn't think so, but it's more of an information item, I guess. And then
Yeah,
just
that's fine.
the only difference I see between the normal standard agreement, that there's a $500 fee normally for anybody who would do an event in the park. As you know, several years ago, we agreed to put $5,000 on top of that because we create a lot of manpower overtime issues for the park department down there for those 4 days, and they lose thousands of dollars worth of revenue from parking. So it works out really good. It's a good situation, and that's covered in that agreement that we do that a little different. So we help the city with that
Right.
moving forward. So we're moving forward with that, and then to that end, race stuff's coming together. We've got a tentative schedule. Our staff has approved for looking at the events for 2020. We're meeting with some community folks mid-February to socialize that, get some input on the VIP events. The big change is we're going to add several hundred VIP tickets that we'll be selling. We're probably going to go from just some debate on what, but I'll just say there's a chance we're going to add maybe 400 extra VIP tickets that we'll sell, and we've had to cut them off so early, and we're going to extend the tent down farther, and this is the model that's used in other races, and we think we're going to like that, so that's exciting. What went to a park board meeting last week where the NSA BPA agreement was approved by the park department. That's the agreement that we're a third party in, kind of. In the way that the way this works is that NSA has been approved to run all the softball and baseball tournaments at Patriot Park. They've relieved the park department of doing that manpower-wise and everything else. They cover all that. They also collect the money from the tournaments and they keep it, which is a great thing. And to offset the park department's loss of revenue, been doing it themselves, we give the park department annually $10,000. It's been approved in the budget, it's been cleared by you guys already, which goes back into maintenance for Patriot Park. So you talk about a win for everybody. What we get out of it is we get sole sourcing on those tournaments. In other words, the NSA puts all the rooms on us, and we've got a way to track it, which is you can count your return on your investment, which is not always easy to do. So it's a great thing. Everybody wins, and the facility out there gets upgrades, dollars that may not normally, if they go through the city, and the park process may not make it to Patriot Park. Right. These dollars are dedicated right to that facility. So that's a real good deal.
Jack, if I may add as well, it's also getting a lot more use, and a lot more hotels are being used because a lot more tournaments are being run.
Yep. Yep.
As opposed to if we didn't have that partnership with NSA BPA, the city and the park department likely wouldn't be able to bring like 40 plus tournaments that NSA does.
Yep, and the fact that NSA, and this is the model we're using in Pop Warner and other areas, the governing group mandates that the folks stay in our hotels. They give them a list, just like we do in Pop Warner. We give them a list, here's where you stay. So Rick can go back and track that, and the same thing we do with the Dunes contract in LaPorte. We go back and track that, we do and it's a great way to hold ourselves accountable and also look at the return on the investment and identify it. So that's that. We are in the early stages of talking about Lake Fest 2020. Mayor Dermody has been socializing those words for quite a while now. Been telling everybody that there's going to be a Lake Fest 2020. We weren't sure what that is, and we're still not sure. But we decided we better jump in and get together and figure out what we're working on here. And in all candor, it's going to be a really cool thing. Rick has been able to work with our folks from London, where P1's based, the jet skis, and they've committed to come and have discussions with us about doing an amateur series in LaPorte. When we zeroed it on a date, it looks like if everything comes together, it might be the week after the boat race, which would be awesome. It'll be August 8th in LaPorte. We're not sure exactly where. There's a lot of things got to happen there, but we've got meetings scheduled to discuss that moving forward. So Rick will talk about it in his report, but his follow-up here, but just want to give you a touch on that. And then if it's okay, Pat, there's a couple of staff that want to give some updates. And so Rick, maybe you want to go, and then Angie and Brett, please. Sure.
No, it's pretty exciting. 2020 is going to be a big year. It's going to be very busy. As Jack said, when we had our first promoters meeting, there's a promoters committee that is comprised of all 6 venues in the APB Offshore Series. We're fortunate to be one of those, and what that kind of means for that series for the boat race is that all the cities, all the venues are going to help cross-promote each other. The committee, under the thumb of Smitty and OSM, which is P1 and OPA, everybody's kind of coming together and we're cross-promoting. And so part of the thing that Jack said that happened at that last meeting, which was a couple of weeks ago in Sarasota, is OSM has committed. OSM is the owner of P1. They're out of Europe. And you might recall that part of their thing that they brought here to Michigan City last year was the jet ski races. We had Pro Series. That was their 3rd out of 5 races. We sat down and I told them that we were interested in bringing something from jet skis to LaPorte, and we have agreed in principle to bring them to LaPorte, which is an amateur series, which would be August 8th and 9th, the week after the Michigan City race. They'll already be up here, P1, so it's a no-brainer. We'll just go over. And I think what we have to decide, and in speaking with DNR, is which lake we're going to utilize. So OSM will be here probably end of February, early March. Of course, from a permitting standpoint, we have to make that decision before the end of March. So that's exciting. Something like that's going to happen. Other sports stuff, Dunes volleyball, is going to start, their tournament will start this coming weekend. As you might remember, we packed the hotel rooms in an off-peak period with that tournament, which is incredible. So that's a godsend, really. And other than that, it's really going to be just keeping the momentum going on the Michigan City race. So we're internationally known. I know that's hard to believe and hard to digest, but that's exactly what's happening. So
It's easy to digest.
Yeah.
I like hearing that. International.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'm Angela Rose, I know you're new, I'm here at Chamber member of LaPorte, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, we are.
So that's exciting, we're glad to have you. But first of all, I wanted to start by thanking the board for funding my position. I've been there a year now, so that's kind of exciting for me. Definitely got my feet wet, hit the ground running, all that good stuff. So since we didn't have a meeting last year at the end of the year, December, we had our downtown for the holidays. It was very successful, good first year, and we're really excited to build on that for next year. We've already started a little bit of planning. This past weekend, we had our ice sculpture demonstrations at the plaza for downtown LaPorte. We kind of got rained out a little bit, but we just put canopies up and carried on like we always do, so that was very nice. We had 4 sculptures and a kid slide where the kids could sit on the sled and slide down it, so that was a lot of fun. I even tried it out. So there's that. A couple exciting things coming up. So next week, February 5th, we have our first quarterly retail roundtable, which is something that the mayor is promoting for downtown businesses to get together. They network, they speak on a couple different topics. So this one is going to be code enforcement. The police department's going to be there. We're going to be discussing parking issues. That's going to be at Go Aerial Fitness. It's going to start at 4:30. So if you're a business owner or somebody that's involved in downtown, you're welcome to attend. The next day, February 6th, I was actually invited to the Indiana State House to receive an award for the grant that I got last year for community cleanup for downtown. So Mayor Tom Germany and State Rep Pressel is going to be there with me for the award. And then we have a few other grants that we're working on for downtown just to make it more livable, safe for kids, walkable, bikeable, all that good stuff. So if you guys have any questions, we're starting our planning for the farmers market since I'm one of the new managers this year, so that's exciting. A lot of fun stuff happening. If you guys have any activities or anything like that you'd like to see at the farmers market, feel free to contact me. We're planning out that programming right now. So.
That's great. I'm so glad we have a farmer's market.
Yeah. We're going to have a lot of activities kind of focused around families and kids and that sort of thing. We're going to have reusable totes. We've rebranded the farmers market since the logo was about 10 years old. So we're going to put the vendors that pay for the entire season up front, they're going to have their logos on the back to help promote that as well, since that's a big thing for LaPorte is our farms and orchards and things like that. So.
Are we going to have a new bakery in LaPorte?
Yes, we are. New Age Baking Company is going to be opening. We're doing a ribbon cutting this Saturday. So that's at 10. They're going to open at 8. So I suggest if you like donuts, definitely stop in. They're about that big. So my son loves them. And they're actually opening in one of the buildings that we used the UEA grant for this past year for the facade grant. So that's really exciting. And then we have another business that's opening. It's called Maple and Rye. They should be opening shortly. It's the same owners as Mucho Mas and Oil with Cheese. So that's going to be opening up on Michigan Avenue. And then we have a few other ones in the works that I'll open once it gets a little bit closer.
Hello, Rep. Mercy, Director of the Civic and LaPorte Events Director through the CVB. Happy, as Angela so eloquently put, that the CVB continues their partnership with the City of LaPorte in funding my position as well. We've been quite busy at the Civic over the last few months. Just to touch base on a few of the highlights since our last meeting. The holiday at the Pops went off without a hitch. Had a great turnout once again, and the Healthcare Foundation is currently in the process of transitioning that event over to the LaPorte County Symphony, and we are hoping with the help of the community and the hard work of both the Healthcare Foundation and the LaPorte County Symphony that will continue to be one of the highlights of the holiday season and one of our landmark events for the Civic as well. It will still be the second Saturday of December every year, as always, and I believe next year's date is December 12th. To touch base, this 2019 was an extremely busy year for the Civic. For one of the first times, at least in the last 6 years that I've been at the Civic, we actually had 5 events in the month of December itself, and as many of us are aware, in Northwest Indiana, because of the snow and that Great Lake Michigan that we have just to the north of us, people tend to be a bit hesitant to book major events in December, January, and February. So we had 4 events on the books for this month in January, and we're quite excited as the building continues to be used continuously throughout the year. We made some major investments, capital investments in the building in the last 12 months. Including a new lighting system that was installed. We had a lighting system failure during the Holt Dixon concert that was put on at the facility in July. So with the help of a couple vendors and with the increased revenue from the liquor license procured by the Civic in 2015, we were able to afford to put new lighting in the building for stage and events. The investment was about $12,000. And it's made a huge improvement. We've had a lot of compliments from the Symphony that utilizes it extensively for their events, for Hoosier Star and other groups. And probably our biggest investment, and the one we think is going to pay off the most, in the month of December, we upgraded our sound system. The speakers we took down were from 1967. That gives anybody an idea of how far music and electronics have come. And to backtrack a bit, the lighting system that we took down, some of the canisters were literally had union labels from 1929.
Oh my gosh.
Now, the insides have been changed out on some of those, but the actual canisters that they were in were the original to the building. So back to the sound system. The system we put in was bid out, and Broadway Music won the bid. And one of the good things for us is Broadway Music does a lot of the major events at the Civic. They've always been hired by the Healthcare Foundation for the Pops concert. They've been hired by the Bethany Lutheran for the events like Sarah Evans and Clint Black. So they know the building, they knew what we needed. We invested about $42,000, and now our sound system is into the century. So we're quite excited about that. We had multiple compliments on the sound during the holiday at the Pops from the president of the Symphony Board, as well as many of the guests that were there. So we're excited that by investing in the system, we should not only be able to increase our revenue and our residual revenue from events that we're hosting, but we're hoping it'll open us up to other events as well, because the initial outlay for cost won't be as much for promoters to come in anymore. Before, you had to hire a sound guy to come in,
Yes.
and one of the hidden expenses of those things is the amount of equipment they bring in would involve extra hours of charges for the building to be used. By us having this equipment and them being able to plug in, we can charge a modest fee for them to use it. It reduces the cost of the promoters and the events to come in. It reduces our costs and labor because our guys aren't waiting till 4 in the morning now for them to unload. They can be out by 11. It's a win-win for all of us, so we're very happy about that. And it also will open us up to providing better services for small groups that utilize the building as well. When they want to put on an event now, they're not going to have to hire a sound guy to come in. They can just plug into ours, or they can hire a sound guy to do half the work and charge half the amount. So we're really excited about that for our community and LaPorte. We just hosted an event for Big Comedy that many people in our community would know, Inappropriate Trivia. One of the great things about that event, Ben Conowitz and his board do a great job of raising money. After this event, I believe they would have raised in excess of $110,000 for the community over the last 10 years. And Devin's aware, the very first big comedy event actually went to put some playground equipment in Hastings Park in LaPorte. So there's ties into everything in our community, and their event sold out within about 3 weeks. We had over 700 people on the floor. Ben doesn't have final numbers yet, but I know they raised well over $10,000 at this point. In addition, they had everyone bring toilet paper to donate to the PAC Center for their, and if you see some pictures on social media, it's quite impressive how much they have piled up in the pictures they took. I believe they took 4 truckloads of toilet paper to the PAC Center Sunday. So we're very excited about those things. Our future coming up, we have Cabin Fever this Friday put on by the Education Foundation. Tickets are available online or will be available at the door. They're $25 each. It's put on by the LaPorte Education Foundation as well in conjunction with the Hall of Fame inductions for LaPorte Slicers at the basketball game on Friday night. Doors at the Civic open at 7:30. They're on from 8 to 11. We have the circus coming to town. The Cardin Family Circus will be held at the Civic Wednesday the 26th of February and Thursday the 27th of February. We also have the Amateur Ham Fest coming to the Civic on February 22nd. And if everyone would like to put on their calendar as well, on March 14th, we'll have the Artisan Market by the Collective back at the Civic. This will be their 4th event at the Civic in the last 15 months. And we will be celebrating the 90th anniversary of the building being opened and donated to the city of LaPorte by the Fox family on Wednesday, March 18th, 2020. The actual anniversary date is March 19th. So we're very excited about that, and we'll have more details being released to the public soon on the 90th anniversary celebration.
Is that it?
No, one other thing. Sorry about that. Just so everyone knows as well, we did officially last week cancel the North American Ice Fishing Classic at the City of LaPorte, which was scheduled for the weekend of February 7th to the 9th. Due to safety concerns and this mild winter that we've had and the lack of ice, we felt it was important to make the call to cancel the event as of last week. Myself, Rick, and Jack all met with the staff, and we came to that conclusion last week, and so we've issued a press release. And we are hoping to bring that event back in 2021, but once again, Mother Nature makes the call. So
Yes.
we'll see what we can do.
Jane?
Good morning. My name is Jane Daly. I'm Community Relations Manager with the LaPorte County Convention and Visitors Bureau, celebrating my 20th year with the Bureau. Yay! And my job is pretty much a liaison between the Bureau, carrying our message out to different businesses and organizations throughout the county. One thing I want to tell you is that the first idea and information exchange will be Thursday, February 20th. It will be at Emerson House, which is a LaPorte address. It's real hard to find, and it's real easy to find. 700 West runs parallel with Johnson Road, right at the intersection of 400 and Johnson. This is a bed and breakfast, but also like a facility for meetings and weddings and banquets. It's like an Art Deco farmhouse that's been renovated. It is absolutely beautiful. They have 8 sleeping rooms, all with private baths. And then they have a couple of living rooms, a parlor, a dining room. It sits on 30 acres. You want to come and look at this. And this meeting will be in conjunction with the Westwood Chamber of Commerce. So we're partnering with them. And I would love to see the board attend to more of these idea and information exchanges, because it gives you an opportunity to network with our partners, who you will always see different people at these meetings. And it's always real interesting, and it's fun, and I'm sure they'll provide some nice food and drink. So that's February. In May, we're meeting at Leeds Public House. It'll be the 3rd Thursday in May. And in September, we're still working on that one, and Winter Glow will be November 18th at Blue Chip. So that's my schedule for the year. And you would have gotten the invitation to the idea and information exchange yesterday in your email. If you want a printed copy, I'll put some at the front desk. Great, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Who's my report?
Okay, thank you. That's very robust.
Yeah, got a lot of stuff out there.
Mrs. Simmons, do we have some marketing updates you want to
We
give
sure
us?
do. So just sit back for another 30 minutes.
We
No, you're not.
already got the word out.
You got 2 seconds though.
Yeah, okay, well, as everyone sat down today, you saw we have our 2020 visitor guide, our 6-month calendar of events. So all the events that have been submitted to us are on the COE. Both these guides are also on a digital form on our website, so you have a chance to take a look at it. We're also have an ad, we do this every year in the State Festival Guide. This is one of the biggest grabbed brochures in the state for different festivals and events for industry. And so we do this. This is also available on the State Festival Association website. And then we have these up front. I didn't pass them out, but this is the 2020 State Travel Guide, and we do some advertising with them through Northern Indiana Tourism Development Commission. So we've got some other things coming up, but I wanted to be sure that you saw what was already out for this year. A couple things. Amy and I, a couple weeks ago, were at ITA, our Indiana Tourism Association meeting in Indy, and we had a chance, and as interesting as Dan was talking about some different things, is that we had, I think several months ago, I had mentioned about the merge or the bond between Indiana Office of Tourism Development and then the Economic Development. So it was announced to us at this meeting that Indiana Office of Tourism Development, which is headed as a director by Misty Weinheimer, and the new, and they're calling this the Indiana Destination Development Corporation, who will be headed by Elaine Beadle, and she was also at our board meeting a couple weeks ago, that as of July 1st, 2020, the official name, it's almost like a merge, will be with the IDDC. And as of June 30th, IOTD will not continue with those acronyms and will be working on, I won't say side by side because IDDC is now going to be the lead. And the interesting part of what they did present to us is that they're running this with 4 pillars and also a board of 7. 2 are presented by the governor, and then others still have not. They're working on a foundation, etc. But the big part of this was that the pillars that they're working on and the focus that they will be focusing on beginning July 1st will be business, workforce, and they're saying visitor/attractions. They're not saying tourism anymore. And then students. So those are the pillars that they'll be working around. And if we look at what Destinations International, our international marketing group that we belong to, is that a lot of what they're talking about now is visitors and attraction. And some of that tourism acronym, they're also looking at moving. There's also looking at rebranding. As we know, the old brand for the state was Indiana's Cool North. They've taken, I'm sorry, that was regional. It was Honest to Goodness Indiana. So we just got an email from the state a couple weeks ago, and they just have Indiana now. No, Honest to Goodness. And the plan is that after the 1st of July, they are looking at rebranding the state again. So there will be a new logo and a whole new marketing and strategic plan for that. So I think that's important, because I think when the Honest to Goodness first came out, we were all kind of scratching our heads. And so they decided that this is probably the perfect time with the IOTD and the IDDC that let's rebrand, let's get a new look, and then just start. ITA has met with the group again last week, so there have been some new updates as far as where we're going, and we'll be able to get that out to the board in, whether it's in a letter form, but just to keep, because there will be a lot of changes starting July 1st. And this is one of the good things with us coming to those meetings. I serve as a board member, and every couple months when we go to these meetings, the amount of information that we get from the state level. Jack is definitely there on the legislative side. He takes calls every couple weeks just to keep up on what's going on legislatively. And but this has been a real great opportunity for us, Amy and I, to come back and bring back the new messages. And I think for the next couple months, our next meeting will be actually at the conference, which is in March. And this is going to be in Elizabeth, in Indiana, Horseshoe Casino, and which they just did a whole new renovation there. So they're going to be hosting the conference. And also there will be the awards that they give out every year. I think I've mentioned before, there's 7 categories. So we have submitted Best Event Festival for the 2019 Great Lakes Grand Prix, and also for our 2019 Visitor Guide. So we submitted all the information, and we will know at that conference, at the awards that Tuesday night, if we picked up one. One of the comments they did make is that they are looking at ROI heavily this time around. So hopefully, especially with our boat race with the 13.6 million,
Right.
we definitely should qualify for that, but we'd be happy to come back with 2 awards for 2019. So other than that, Amy and I, after this meeting, are meeting with Robbie Barris. Robbie's the marketing person for NITDC, looking at renewing our 2020 contract for the Indiana Toll Road. And that's why I just handed, especially Devin, with you, more awareness as far as what we're doing on the toll road and how we market exit 39 and 49, which are the 2 exits for Michigan City and LaPorte. And I will cut it down to the 10. Did you have something else? I saw you hit me.
Yeah, what about the approval for the,
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Now that we have approved Chelsea's job description, I had to reach out to Don Anderson to make some adjustments on the marketing and business plan. And so he just sent that to me yesterday. So I will be just emailing that to you. That's the only thing that really changed. We had to include her initials in on a lot of the social media aspects. So I did get that, and then this morning I did receive from him the individual staff priorities, which I work with each of the staff on that, and the schematic rationale for the 3-year plan also changed. Then the only part of that changed was the fairgrounds management
And events
group. So I will be sending the 1-page schematic and then also reissuing the multi-page strategic plan. So those were the adjustments. We're going to be sure we brought everything up to par so that Chelsea is now noted, but we also have added the fairgrounds in there as part of the 3-year plan. So, and Pat has had a chance to see that at Friday. So other than that, I think that's it. Any questions?
Okay, so January was a great meeting, right? Okay, so if the board doesn't have anything else at this time, we're going to adjourn the meeting. We will meet next month. The date is on there, February 25th. Melinda's going to send out the changes. Any questions, make sure you converse with her on that. And I guess we'll vote on the changes at next meeting. Okay. Okay.
yeah, that will.
Okay. All right, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah.